Ladies and gentlemen, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, as we have people joining from different parts of the world. I am Haruna Danjuma Ghana, the IEEE PES Young Professional Regional Representative for the United States and of America and Canada. And it is my distinct pleasure to welcome you to the annual IEEE PES YP Regional Summit 2023, hosted by our dynamic and innovative communities in the United States and Canada. Our theme today, accelerating climate solutions, innovations for a sustainable future, could not be more relevant or urgent. We're here to explore the critical role of power and energy professionals in shaping a sustainable tomorrow. Our aim is to foster discussions, share knowledge, and inspire actions that will contribute to a greener, more resilient future. We are honored to have distinguished guests who are true leaders in this field. I don't think we could honestly get, more distinguished and guests in this field that I know about. First of all, I'll start with Dr. Jessica Bien. Dr. Bien, a visionary leader and architect, currently serves as the president of the IEEE Power and Energy Society, PES. Her pioneering work in electric industry reliability metrics and grid risk assessment has made her a trusted world leader. She is currently vice president of grid services at GridX Partners and has held influential positions at the U.S. Federal Energy Regulatory Commission and the North American Electric Reliability Corporation. And next is Mr. John D. Donald P. With a remarkable 49-year career in the electric utility transmission and distribution industry, John McDonald is a true industry icon. I will repeat, John McDonald is a true industry icon. He holds numerous accolades, including the IEEE Millennium Medal, IEEE PES Excellence in Power Distribution, Energy Award, and many, many more. John is the past president of IEEPS and an influential figure in the smart grid field. And last but not the least, Dr. Mazana Armstrong. Dr. Strong is the manager of Transmission Stations Engineering Division at the BC Hydro with over 25 years of expertise in high voltage electric power systems. Her contribution to electrical safety standards and her work in the IEEE PES are commendable. She's a senior member of IEEE and a distinguished lecturer in the Power and Energy Society. Our esteemed speakers will share their insight and expertise throughout the summit, offering valuable perspectives on the theme. We encourage you all to actively participate in this discussion, ask questions, network with fellow professionals. There's going to be a lot of professionals in this particular forum, and other colleagues. Let's make this summit an engaging and interactive experience that propels us towards a more sustainable future. We all know about climate change. We all have felt the effect one way or the other. You might have longer summers or longer winters, and weathers that just come out of the blues. But I want to thank you today and look forward to the inspiring conversation and collaboration that will emerge from this summit. Together, we can accelerate climate solutions and shape a better future. Thank you. Now I'll hand over to Vish, who has a message from the IEEE president. Over to you, Vish.
Hey everyone, good morning. Welcome to the IEEE PES Young Professionals Summit. I'll be sharing my screen so that we can all read the message from our IEEE president, Dr. Saifur Rahman. He couldn't be here with us today, but he was kind enough to pen down some words for our organization to start the kickoff meet. I'll be reading out his message. I would like to welcome all of the participants of the IEEE Power and Energy Society's Young Professional Regional Summit, focused on accelerating climate change solutions, innovations for a sustainable future. I applaud your efforts to develop a strong understanding of the challenges we face as a society and to learn about and collaborate on the technological solutions required to address these challenges. IEEE's mission is to advance technology for the benefit of humanity. Today, the world faces its largest modern day threat, climate change. We recognize this global crisis and are committed to helping combat and mitigate the effects of climate change through pragmatic and accessible technical solutions and providing engineers and technologists with a neutral space for discussion and action. Climate change is an enormously complex topic spanning many engineered systems that impact not only the CO2 emissions from fuels, but also the health of people, water systems, ecosystems, and infrastructure. Thus, multifaceted engineering disciplines and a diverse range of engineering and technical professions are central to realizing practical and pragmatic solutions to advance the climate agenda. IEEE participated in the United Nations Climate Change Conference, COP27, in Egypt in 2022, with plans to participate again in 2023 in the United Arab Emirates. I encourage everyone to visit the IEEE climate change website at climate-change.ieee.org. IEEE has curated a collection of research outputs on climate change for use as a blueprint for members' action plan. Saifur Rahman, 2023 IEEE President and CEO. I would like to thank Dr. Rahman for sharing his words and the keynote talk, which was really important to set the tone of this meeting. I will hand it over back to Aruna to take us through the rest of the presentation.
All right. Thank you, Vish, for helping us present the IEEE President's message. And we are grateful for having great leaders like him lead us to a better, sustainable future. I mean, IEEE leaders have always been very supportive of whatever is best for humanity. After all, our goal is technology, innovations for a better humanity. I didn't know a lot of IEEE presidents, but from Susan Katie Land, I have followed IEEE presidents closely. She's my number one mentor. Then John, she has always been a person that I followed closely because she's always passionate about everything young professionals, sustainable future when it comes to climate, technology. And without technology, I don't think we will even be doing this. So, but onto the next agenda, we will dive straight into the discussions. I believe I have introduced all the speakers. I want everybody to be to engage in this particular session. It's going to be a panel kind of discussion. So all the speakers are going to come back on, and then Vish will moderate the session, and we'll take it from there. Thank you. Back to you, Vish, and our honorable speakers, our superstars. Thank you.
Hey everyone. Uh, so the next agenda for today is having a panel discussion. So I would like to invite all the speakers up on stage. We can start with Dr. Jessica Bien. If we can, thank you so much. Next up, I would like to invite Dr. Mazana Armstrong and John McDonald. So the agenda for today's discussion would be accelerating climate change solutions through innovations in power and energy field. Just to give you a brief background, my name is Vishwas Pawar. I'm a PhD student at Clemson University, South Carolina, and I am the Young Professionals Chair for Piedmont section here. Young professionals is kind of the transition into knowing what has been done and what can be achieved. So to start off this panel session, I would like to throw out the broader aim, which is essentially translating ambition into action. Transforming the power and energy system offers numerous opportunities beyond climate change solutions, like energy security, sustainable economic growth, profitable investments, and for young professionals like me, new jobs. But for the purpose of today's panel discussion, we'll stick to finding out the tools, technological solutions that will accelerate the climate shift, leading to innovations in the power and energy field. We are privileged to have people on the panel from different facets of power and energy. We have generation, transmission, distribution, and then also policy and markets. So that is kind of a well-rounded panel for today's discussion. To begin off today's panel, I would like to throw out the question with the expertise on the panel. In your opinion, what are probably the top three innovations that will dictate the next decade in power and energy systems? I think we can start off with Jessica and then go down to Masana and John. So, to repeat the question, in your opinion, what are the next top three technological innovations that will dictate the climate shift transition in power and energy field? Over to you, Jessica.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that organizing this wonderful panel and the summit. I would say I'm gonna just say one that my personal view, and then I'll leave the other two to Majana and John. I know that Texas had a horrible event in 2021. So if we had a local response that has all the technologies, right, and also we can have a better resilient grids. When I say local, is I want to have the local demand response be part of the drive, not just technology on the grid, but the users can participate and can contribute, can provide solutions. That would speed up the energy transition. We don't have to wait in lots of investments, and this is just, I mean, right? I mean, if we have let's say retail market, or if we have a lots of data, smart meters can not cut the whole feeders off, just targeted lost 259 lives during that event. So to me, the firm one technology that I see doesn't cost a lot. Yes, it does need some investment to beef up the infrastructure, but with the data, with the smart meters we have, we need to get into the load side and then help a grid to get into the resilient mode immediately. We can do that immediately.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Jessica, for that insight. And I think that's really valuable input where having local energy markets for immediate demand response is essential. I would open the floor for Mazana to talk more about what are her opinions and views about the innovations needed in power and energy to accelerate this climate change transition.
Yes. So this topic is, as everyone knows, I work as, in a utility, in a large utility in Canada called BC Hydro, and I am on the transmission side of the business. So managing the team that actually deals with all aspects of substations, right? So substations are the nodes, that we need to transmit energy, and there is a lot of equipment that sits in those substations, and what we are seeing is that the innovation is really coming on the manufacturing side. On the request of utilities across the world that are saying things like, hey, we cannot use SF6 as an insulating medium anymore because it is not good for the environment. So what are the alternatives to using SF6? So that whole area of developing new equipment to meet the needs of the industry at the same time as complying with the environmental requirements. That's what I feel is happening at the moment. It's very much necessary. And another aspect that my utility is heavily involved is electrification. So BC Hydro is one of the few utilities in the world that we are lucky and blessed with hydropower. So 98% of our installed capacity of our energy comes from clean energy from water. So we are powered by water. So we have these dams that were built, over the past 100 years, and they act as batteries. But currently we are looking into, grid-sized batteries to support our operations as well. So battery, new technology in terms of new solutions for batteries and energy storage, whether it's could be in the form of hydrogen. So that's another keyword that is being discussed at all conferences, really, and how to integrate hydrogen into power systems. There is a lot of talk about that as well. So those are the three things that my utility is currently looking at, and also is being heavily discussed across all the conferences within our community. Over to you, John.
All right, thanks, Jessica. Thanks, Majana. Let me touch on things that Jessica said and Majana said, and then I'll add a couple more. I think what Jessica said about the customer, their local, the end use customer, that was quite a change for our industry. We realized about over 15 years ago with the legislation in the United States in 2007, the Energy Independence and Security Act, Title 13 talked about what the U.S. should be doing in detail with smart grid. And all of a sudden we realized that we have a new stakeholder that we've never had any experience with, and that's the end use customer, And we realized very quickly, if we put smart meters on a customer's home and we don't spend time with them to educate them on what, what the new technology is, it could be a problem. So we, with respect to that, 13 years ago, we started a group called the Smart Grid Consumer Collaborative, which focuses on education and research of the end use customer, not the grid, not the utility, but the end use customer. This group is called the Smart Energy Consumer Collaborative now, over 200 members. And so if you want to know more information about the value proposition for the end use customer, the capability of the end use customer, like Jessica talked about, this is a very, very good group, SECC. I fully agree with Majana. The substation to me is the most critical part of the infrastructure. I joined the substations committee of the IEEE Power and Energy Society 35 years ago, was a working group chair, a subcommittee chair over all automation standards, and then I was chair of the committee, substations committee, 2001 and 2002. And it's just ironic. Just in the last couple of years, I've chaired several panel sessions, moderated several panel sessions on SF6 alternatives, like Majana talked about. And what most people don't realize is how many years SF6 stays in the atmosphere and pollutes. It's 3,200 years. So we really have to make an effort, and we are. In the panel session, I've had all the major vendors, and we have alternatives now, and we have equipment at different voltage levels that's commercially available using an alternative SF6. Two other things, Vish. One would be we have a goal of putting more renewables, distributing more renewables on the grid, but in many cases we don't have capacity. We have poor power factors. We have a lot of reactive power taking up infrastructure. And so freeing up hosting capacity is something very critical. I think we've done a good job with low voltage power electronic set point controllers. We call these low voltage network dynamic set point or grid edge controllers. We install them on the edge of the grid. And we've had a lot of success in freeing up hosting capacity on the distribution feeders so we can integrate more distributed generation, and help the environment more. So I think one thing is, what technology do we need to free up more of this hosting capacity, improve the power factor? And the last thing would be, let's see, it'd be energy storage. We have to realize that distributed solar, wind is intermittent, and how do we handle the intermittency? And more and more research in energy. So you have to think about, what's the time of the application? Is it power, which is instantaneous, which would be batteries, right, like lithium-ion batteries, or is it longer term, like peak load deferral, which is more energy, the integral of power? And then we need maybe sodium sulfide. So there's different technologies of energy storage depending on the time frame of the need. But we're seeing more innovation in two ways. One would be packaging batteries with turbine generators. And there's an offering today called an electronic gas hybrid turbine, which is 10 megawatts of lithium-ion batteries with a 50 megawatt natural gas-fired turbine generator. The second part of this innovation is these natural gas-fired turbine generators are new. They're fast responding, and they start up much more quickly because of the requirements. You can handle instantaneous needs, and you can handle longer term needs in an integrated package. So I think those are some examples of what we're seeing, and to handle the needs of what we want to do.
Perfect. Thank you so much, John, Mazana, and Jessica. I think the topics that you all touched on are so dear to my heart, because that was the next segment that we were going to jump into, is the role of infrastructure and energy storage. Because now that we have spoken about kind of a bottom-up approach, where we spoke about local markets, about distribution substations, and I want to shift it a little bit up towards an upwards flow about infrastructure and energy storage. So, what I believe is the intermittent nature of renewables is because there is a lack of infrastructure to transmit the pockets of high energy renewables and connect them with load centers. So, what will be your takes and opinions on having newer infrastructure? And as John rightly said, how do we free up the hosting capacity? Because I know if from a transmission standpoint, having new transmission lines is not only expensive, but also it's not uh, people-friendly policies. So how do we tackle the climate situation with the goal of expanding the infrastructure and energy storage and also keep people at the center of it? Does anyone want to take that question? Or maybe we can follow a reverse order now. Okay,
Chime in. I
Jessica,
can chime in.
go ahead.
The storage side, it's still very expensive at this point. So integrated planning is a key, right? So how do you, like you said, transmission, um, and distribution and storage and other things together. So and the cost allocation, it's very complicated from a policy point of view. Another thing we have to understand, energy is local and is very political. So when we talk about technology, we have to think about the impact and the cost. Can we make that affordable to everyone? What's the implication to the economy, to the regular consumer, and to the politicians? So all those to be part of it. And to make it work, it needs to be, at least right now, it has been 140 years, right? It is that technology first comes out, like Thomas Edison, right? Invented all the things, and then Tesla, and everyone. And then a policy came, regulate the price, and so now public enjoys the wonderful electricity service. That has been the model. Is that the model going forward? Might be for another 30 or 50 years, but going after that, it's not. At least that's the model. It worked. So we
I
have to
think
consider. Go
Jessica, you
ahead.
cut out for us. You probably cutting in and out for probably a minute there.
Oh, okay. So what I mean is it's a combination of the policy, economy, and technology, right? Technology comes in first, but can we implement that at the massive scale? And that's always a question, like the storage. So if you look at California, look at other Australia, their markets, they're very expensive because I mean, is that something we can kind of get into, spread out into the rest of the world, the rest of the states here? So that's questionable. So there are a lot of things, but I think policy folks did pretty good job in 2018. They opened up the wholesale markets, and they said we're going to remove all the barriers and have the DRs. That's 2022 and 2018. They said we're going to invite all the storage come into wholesale markets and to compete with the traditional any technology, like traditional or the new virtual power plants. Now I know grid forming is very hot right now. If you look at the PES top downloads in 2022 and 2023, so far, grid forming inverter technology, that's number one. And PES is also working on the standards for that. So that could be part of the solution, because like the California market, they want to have inertia. They don't have tons of electronics there, so they're trying to set up a nurture market. So that's why grid forming could be a way to do it. So all those coming, but we have to consider, like I said, the pricing and the reliability and technology wise, and plus affordability, safety, and of course resiliency is another equation we're trying to add. I know PS is working on another resiliency standards besides reliability. The draft proposal asks for 12-hour as a resiliency benchmark, which is very high bar for everyone to meet. To think about under any circumstance, wildfire, flood, earthquake, cold weather, that we want the electricity provider to store electricity within 12 hours, period. So that means that we can use all the technology John mentioned and Majana mentioned, all the things that you wanted, right? Put into everywhere, and then restore the electricity back to the consumer within 12 hours. That's a humongous challenge, and but that's what the draft of standards is proposing right now. So, like I said, I guess only sky is the limit. So I just want to leave it like that. Back to you now.
Thank you so much, Jessica, for the great answer about the end-to-end solution and what needs to be done in policy, reliability, and all the different standards that we are trying to meet. With respect to infrastructure, I would like to open up maybe John or Mazana to share something about infrastructure more. Do you see high voltage DC lines transmitting power more, connecting different parts of the US? Or how do you see we free up more hosting capacity with having more innovations needed uh, to accelerate this renewable shift?
Yes. So I can speak a little bit about what's currently happening at BC Hydro. So there is a huge mandate we were given by the government in our province to electrify the province, and that means supply more power, let's say even to remote areas, because we are seeing all the industries that are not necessarily in the load centers, that they are shifting from using fossil fuel type of powering of their operations. So they're switching to electricity. So this is introducing a shift in what we've traditionally seen as the load centers. And British Columbia, if you know geography a little bit, has two big river systems, Peace River and Columbia River, that are supplying the majority of electricity to the province. So now we are seeing growth in the areas where we were not predicting a huge load growth because of the climate change, because of reduction in the use of fossil fuels and different initiatives by our governments. And so at this point, we are planning on building more high voltage infrastructure in order to be able to transmit all this power to the new load centers that are forming. So it is a challenge. It is a challenge. What we are seeing is that the timelines to do this, again, the climate change, the what's happening is here now. Like we need to act now. There is no time to build these projects in the next 20 years. The timelines are getting shorter. We are being asked to construct 500 kV new 500 kV kilovolt lines to supply these loads within timeframes that we have never seen in the past. So and this comes to ingenuity. Like everything in the end boils down to people, boils down to our workforce that has to come up with the ways to do projects faster. It comes down to also again to the manufacturing world, and I keep mentioning this because I know John is from General Electric, and just like all the other manufacturers in the world, we need utilities need manufacturers to respond to our request to deliver equipment faster. than before to deliver. You know, we need steel supply faster. We need insulators. We need conductors. We need transformers. We need circuit breakers. So those are those are the real challenges that we are facing, and it's not only BC Hydro. All our systems are different. Again, as far as, for example, introducing battery storage in BC Hydro system, we already have huge hydro dams that provide, you know, us with reliable energy. And batteries definitely play a role in, again, in like distribution stations to help us shave off those peaks and on our feeders and our transmission system, but also to help our non-integrated areas. So not all of the customers in our province are, you know, connected to the grid. We have pockets of communities that are far away from the main grid, and currently we are supplying power using diesel fuel generators, and currently looking into, again, implementing new technologies, combination of solar and battery storage to provide reliable electricity to those communities as well, and basically cut down reliance on fossil fuels again. So I would say, because I know this is Young Professional Summit, I would say to everyone on this call that we need you. Jobs are waiting for you, and I think that's going to be more and more the case. And we need those new solutions to come from you, younger generations, like how to make all of this happen. And yeah, so this is my kind of a message that there is lots going on right now, and we need all of you to step up and you know, enter the industry as soon as possible and help us find those solutions that we need going forward. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mazana, for that lovely response. I would now ask John to share his insights on what he feels about the situation on infrastructure. And as Mazana touched on it, how do we make sure that manufacturing and maybe even supply chain is up and running to get and implement the next generation innovations?
Yeah. Yeah, I think one thing that we have to keep in mind is, Jessica touched on this, is success. How do we define success in what we do? And I say, you know, success is a three-legged stool. It's like a stool with three legs. And each leg is important. If one is weaker than the other and you try to sit down, you'll fall down. You won't be successful. And those three legs, and Jessica brought one up, Majana brought one up, is technology is one, but technology by itself is not enough. Technology today must be standards based, okay? Because our solutions today are, especially with distribution, they involve different vendors' products that have to interoperate and be integrated with each other and interoperate. And if they don't comply with the same standard or sets of standards, it won't work, you know? So technology, standards, and the third leg is policy. You know, and as engineers, policy is not something we're taught in school. But yet, we find, you know, when policy is strong, there's tremendous investment. Policy goes away, the interest, the excitement goes away. We find when there's a full production tax credit, there's tremendous investment. When the production tax credit is partial, the investment goes down proportionally. And when the tax credit goes away, the investment goes away. So we really need to spend time with technology standards based, and policy. You want to shape policy to be strategic to what you're doing, okay? And that's different in every country. The second thing is with the infrastructure, you know, we all talked about distribution. There was very little investment of the infrastructure for many, many years, right? With utilities, you know, the focus priority was on generation transmission because it was the most critical part of the grid. In fact, in the United States today, we have 52,000 distribution substations. 1/4 of those are still unobservable at the control center. We don't have automation equipment in 1/4 of those. If your house is fed from one of those substations and you have an outage, the utility won't know until you call them, let them know. So we're slowly catching up with investment in the distribution part of the grid around the world. And today, that's the biggest focus, truthfully. For every dollar we invest in optimizing the distribution grid, we get $5 to $6 back. The benefit cost ratio is very strong. So there's tremendous focus. That's why we have these new low voltage dynamic set point controller, grid edge controllers, to free up capacity on the distribution part of the grid. That's why there's so much focus today on advanced distribution management systems. You know, it wasn't too long ago I talked to the supervisor of a utility control center. I'd say, you transmission, when will you get a separate SCADA system for distribution? And they would laugh at me and say, John, my distribution system is so simple. Electricity flows in one direction. So what do I need to spend money on a computer-based control system? Well, that's changed. You know, the distribution systems with the integration of distributed energy, electricity flowing in two directions, has changed. It's on Fan and I. We have a one-day tutorial on ADMS and distribution. It's on the IEEE PES Resource Center because we give it at a lot of T&D conferences and general meetings, and PES recorded it, and it's available. Well, it's a one-day tutorial on this topic. But I would say that distribution, we need much more research technology on distribution and much more effort on optimizing. And we see a lot more interest in HVDC today, much more interest. A lot of it is due to much more like offshore wind, right? And how do you bring that energy offshore to land and harness it on the land? You know, we have large substations out on platforms in the ocean, right? This capturing all the energy from the wind turbine generators, and then with submarine cables, right? HVDC bringing that energy to land, and then a substation on land to convert to AC so we can use it on land, you know. So there's a lot more emphasis on a lot of activity on HVDC today. So I think those are, I think the biggest thing today is the more focus on distribution and making a lot of progress with optimization of the distribution part of the grid.
Can I
Thank
add?
you so much. Sorry,
Yeah,
Jessica,
can
go
I-
ahead. Sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, because I like what Marjana added. I view the workforce is also infrastructure, and I know the DOE, or U.S. Department of Energy, they have more than 1,000 job openings right now. I mean, if you just ask John, right? Gee, how many openings you have, right? And BC Hydro, same thing. I mean, it's just tremendous. You go to AEP, and the Bob will come as VP as well. That's number one job the PS can help me is give me more young talents. So to me, that's another infrastructure we have to build. So if you don't mind, actually, I prepared a few slides. I just particularly want to talk about that, the workforce. So let me see if I can share my maybe slides.
Sure. This kind of, I think we can probably share them for you if you need that. I think Haruna has your slides, right?
Yeah, if you can, I just wanted to, let's go to number 8. I think there's a if you can share that, I can quickly go through what PS is doing is try to build that infrastructure, because that's what we're a membership association, right? we're, I mean, ideally we are to help industry to address the number one like concern, the challenge. If we do a survey with all the CEOs with the industry, number one is not about technology, is the infrastructure, like you're saying. What's the infrastructure we need built? It is the people, and we do not have enough people to help us to move and things quickly and help us to speed up energy transition. So can we have the slides? Or I need to
Give me a
share.
minute. A minute.
Okay.
This is actually a great flow while we wait on the slides to come up, because my next question was going to be the role of YPs and young professionals into this energy transition. So it's kind of that we have aligned our talks and discussions exactly in the flow. And as the slides are up, I think we can probably go back to Jessica.
Yeah. Can you see? I just did the sharing. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes,
Oh,
now we can see. Yes, now we can see it.
so you can see this is the one that I mean, John knows this probably very well. So we started right kind of flat all the way, then boom, we have this deregulation. Now we have the renewable and then smart grids, all the things that John knows those very well. So you can see the PS membership just started kind of climbing quickly, right, up to 2020. This is up to 2022. Now we need to see another like a jump, right? Because we have this climate change, which is imminent. We need to do a lot of things. So here's where we are. I mean, with Majana's help and her team, you can see the student branch chapters and grow tremendously. We actually now have more than 600 student chapters within PES as of August 2023. So, but just let's look at region 1 to 7. This is always kind of it's my one of the things keep me up at night. You look at the blue lines; those are region 1 to 7 students, and Marjana knows this as well. And overall, 7 to 10 um, is a these are the undergraduate student number. But look at the blue bars; those are the region 1 to 6, which means in the United States, and the number of PS undergraduate student members actually declining. And it's very, I mean, as a PS president, I would say embarrassing to say we only had 209 undergraduate students at the end of 2022. So this is something that to me is not acceptable. So I mean, if your young professional committee and team can help us move the needle on that, that's where we need to go. I want to skip to this one. So we launched the workforce initiative in 2023 this year, and next year we'll have the 2024 climate change initiative. The governing board approved the budget and everything in July. So here's what we're doing, and the one thing we did this year as part
Jessica?
of yes,
Sorry, I hate to interrupt, but I think the slides have not changed on
not
here.
changing.
Yes, it's still showing the membership slide.
Oh, okay. So how do I move? I'm moving on my
Yes.
side.
Now we can see them. Yes,
Oh,
now
now
we
you
can
can
see
see
them.
it. Okay. So
Yes.
this is what I'm talking about, the student branch chapter, right? Booming with Majana and her team's help. But can you see this, the PS undergraduate student member slide? Can you see it?
Maybe with a little bit of a delay, Jessica. We
Oh,
are seeing reliability and resilience slide.
oh, that's not what I, so this one.
Yeah, it's like a minute delay or so.
Oh boy. Okay. But anyway, so I just okay. So let me move. And essentially, what I'm trying to say is that region 1 to 6 in the U.S., probably region 7 as well. We need a lot of your help. Like Majana said, we need you. So what we did is we lowered the student, including graduate students as well, the student membership fee from $15 to $1. That's one thing we did. So we like to come join us, so we can help industry to address their workforce issue. And another one that we did, and starting this year, we called it's called PES for all the recent graduates. Let's say I graduated right from university or from graduate school and with a 4-year degree or graduate degree, and so we have this promotion going on called PS Celebrate 50. If you use that code, your membership, PS membership, will be 50% off. So if you're young professional, just graduated school within the last 5 years and going, if you renew your membership, it's only 50% starting next year. And for high grade, we need, of course, all the engineers we can get, all the students, and as the professors. And we also have a promotion. And we also implemented virtual job internship platform. So that will connect a industry and students together. So students can look at all the internship and job available online. We also have a mentorship program. Thank you for Marjana. So I'm going to stop here. All these things we're trying to do is to build infrastructure so we can help industry and move the needle. So let me stop sharing. You know, my connection is not good at all right now within this hotel. But anyway, so I'm going to stop sharing. So back to you.
Thank you
Did I
so
miss
much,
you?
Jessica, for that.
Sure.
John, do you have something to share? I think there's probably a connection issue. So thank you so much, Jessica, for sharing that. And as young professionals, our motto is to move the needle. And we had a YP summit recently in which moving the needle was the primary focus. And also, how do we get the next transition? And we call this STEP, which is the Student Transition Elevation Program. And how do we have student members understand the importance and realize the value benefits so that they are encouraged to transition to different roles into IEEE and continue their membership past the student grade. So I think these slides and the great important knowledge on infrastructure and seeing infrastructure also as the workforce and student infrastructure was the greatest takeaway for me, at least. And also the great three-legged stools that we spoke about of technology, standards, and policy. It's all going to shape the next innovations and transitions into clean energy and power systems. I want to check with Haruna how we are doing on time. And do we have time for more questions? Yes, go ahead.
Yes. Thank you, Vish. Yes. Yeah. I mean, we have time for more engagement before we move on to the questions. Yes. So we're doing very good. Um, I do
Okay.
not know if John and Mazana want to respond to talk about young professionals engagement before we actually have questions for them when it comes to the collaborations between young professionals, industries, and policymakers. But I want to hear their own insight before we come up with the questions.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so I can definitely say a few words here. What I see happening in Canada and North America in general. So we are dealing with like a long-term prospect of population decline in, for example, in Canada and the United States, and the population. I've seen some graphs, recently, some predictions on what is going to happen. And the future does not look great in that aspect, because we are going to need more people to address the challenges we have. And what's currently happening in the power and energy sector, I call it a revolution, right? Like, we haven't seen anything like this in decades, right? Like, where we have huge challenges, again, posed by climate change, by many other challenges that we are facing. But the workforce is actually, the predictions are it's declining, right, in North America. And what I'm also seeing, and you're posting for jobs, and you're seeing fewer applicants. The jobs that once attracted maybe even 1,000 people applying for them, now you're seeing 20, 30 people apply, and so on. And I think that is going to get worse with time, and we need to become a global market for the workforce. So we cannot search for our future employees within Canada or even within the US. We have to expand to the entire world. And one of the challenges we are facing is, how do we work with our we call it engineering and geoscientists, organization that governs our engineering discipline, and those organizations, maybe the way the conditions are put on people who are coming from outside of Canada, they need to go through some additional courses. There's things that they have to do in order to get their designation as a professional engineer, as we call them. And I feel that has to change. We have to be able to grab an engineer from India or from China or from Australia or wherever they are available, and have the expertise, and bring them to where they're needed. Right. So I still feel there's barriers that exist in different countries where the workforce is needed, that by the regulators, and those hopefully will change. Obviously, the governments have immigration policies as well that all impact how we can actually bring the workforce from outside of Canada to help us achieve what we need to achieve. Somebody earlier mentioned, I think it may have been Jessica, about the huge amount of postings. I think BC Hydro at this point has something like 600 openings. 600 openings, right? That's not uncommon. I'm sure in where John works, they're seeing the same things. They're seeing positions that are not being filled. I truly believe that PES has a very, very influential position to help employers get their workforce, right, from anywhere in the world. And what Jessica just mentioned with the mentorship program, which is, by the way, not local. You can have a mentor from across the world. You can have John McDonald as your mentor, right? Wherever you are, you can have myself as your mentor. And like having these career fairs where they're not meant to be, hey, it's just for this area. Like, the whole world can join into the career fair and see what these companies are offering, and then establish those contacts and see if the jobs that are needed and being offered are in line with what they're looking for. So I'm really excited about this workforce part of the PES mandate, because I think it's very much necessary. It's not something that's coming at us in 5-10 years. It's here already. The shortage of workforce is here already, and that part of PES mandate also to the educational, so the PES University, everything that we need to train our people is there. It's within the PES realm, and I think we just have to push forward. And I'm like super excited to hear about all these initiatives that Jessica shared. So that just means PES is doing the right thing, and this is our way of serving, our membership as well. And I just hope like our all the young people who are out there listening to this will understand how powerful Power and Energy Society is to have as your ally, as your resource. So please come and join us, and we really need you in this industry. Thank you.
Wow, that was really great and inspiring. Thank you so much, Masana, for those great words. John, do you have anything to add to the topic of workforce and infrastructure and people development?
Yeah, in fact, at the end of panel sessions, one common question for the moderator of the panelists is, okay, what's the biggest challenge to you going forward? And just to reinforce what Jessica talked about, the slides, and Majana just talked about, the biggest, in the last 2 years, the biggest challenge from executives of utilities, from vendors, from consultants, has been finding the people that we need to get the work done. It's been the biggest challenge is workforce. And I would say, when you looked at Jessica's slide on membership, we had a decline in membership with PES. And I was president of PES in 2006 and 7, and the average age of our society then was 50 years old of our member, and the average age of the IEEE member was 42. So at that time, to do something to attract young professionals. And we surveyed 3rd and 4th year university students, hundreds of them, and said, what are the 3 most important things to you with your first full-time engineering job when you graduate? And number 3, was where I live and how much money I make. Number 3, where when I graduated, that was the only thing that was important to me. And this surprised us, but it was very good information because we didn't know this. Number 1 was the young people said, we want to work for a company that's helping the environment. We want to work for a company, and we want to help the environment. Number 2 was, we want to help society with the work we do. Okay. And so that was when we changed the name of PES, right? The EE became energy. All right. And if you look at Jessica's slide, you'll see the membership in PES of a positive slope from around 2007 and 8 to today. Okay, because we've done a good job of, and this is what we need, right? We celebrate every year PES Day because it was
Oh, I'm not sure. I think,
you hear me?
no, John, I think you're cutting in and out.
See. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
I see the
Yes.
the
We can
internet
hear
connection.
you, but your screen is a little bit frozen.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Can you hear me now? Vish,
Yes,
can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, we can hear you, John. Yes.
Okay. Um, one last one last thing on mentorship. You know, Majana and we talked about the PES mentoring program. Think about if you're a young professional, what you learn in school is the science of engineering, but that doesn't differentiate you from anybody else. That's everybody can do that. It's courses, textbooks, professors. Everybody does that. When you graduate, though, and start working full time for a company, what's important to that company is not what you studied in school. It's your ability to solve problems, your problem solving ability. But what's important for the company is the ability to apply the science in the real world. And we call that the art of engineering. Okay. And the challenge is you can't learn the art of engineering overnight and you can't read a book. How do you do that? You spend as much time as you can with experienced people, like mentorship. Okay. You find as many experienced people, or through IEEE PES, find as many experienced people as you can, and try to spend as much time with them as you can. And what you'll do is you accelerate your understanding of the art of engineering. And the more you accelerate that through mentorship, through IEEE PES, the more valuable you are to your company, and the more valuable you are to your company's customers. If you don't provide, if you talk to a company's customer and you don't have anything new to add, you know, the customer from you. If you can't provide value to your company through the application of the science, the art of engineering, you may not be hired in the first place, or you may not be retained by a company. So you have to continue to learn the art of engineering through experienced people, and that's how you increase your value to the marketplace. Okay, so that's why IEEE PES and why mentorship is so important to students and young professionals.
Thank you so much, John. That was really great insight about the art of engineering and the science of engineering and how to add value to any company by knowing more and encouraging all the young professionals throughout the world. Actually, we have live stream people joining in from different countries. So it's an encouragement to know that the power and energy field is growing. It needs workforce, and how to transfer the skills we learned in school to real jobs is probably the next step of this transitioning to young professionals and to an industry and workforce challenge. Thank you so much, everyone, for all your great insights. I would like to probably give it over to Haruna for leading us through the program, or if he needs to add or ask some questions, I'll probably now give it over to him. Over to you, Haruna.
Yeah, thank you, Vish. Thank you, John. Thank you, Jessica. Thank you, Mazana. It was a great panel discussion. And like last year, I made a comment during the summit, and I'll make it again. And because John contributed to it, I said, and I think I mentioned it before we actually went live. There is a proverb from Nigeria where I come from that says that whatever an elder sees sitting down, even if a young professional climbs a mountain, he will never see whatever the elder sees because of experience, because of so many things. So when we have people of experience like Mazana, John, and Jessica coming and tell us what they've done and what they're still doing, I think young professionals should be enthused to, pick up the mantle and run with it. without technology, because power and energy is technology. Without power, without energy, I don't think we will be we will be doing this right now. So it is just it is the future belongs to the young professionals. The future belongs to everybody that's coming up. So if we all put in the work and the concentration and and the the zeal, we will basically help push the power and energy society, not just power and energy society, but the whole world, because that's IEEE's uh, motto: innovation for humanity. We help push humanity to a better place. Um, it is left to us, and that's why we have all the panelists here to tell us what they believe we should do, what they think we can contribute, not just us but everybody um, in this particular sector, and help the world a better place. And we all know we have challenges all over the place when it comes to climate, energy, power, sustainability of all of this as well. So that being said, I'll hand over to Harry Govid, who will lead us into the fireside chat and the Q&A. So Harry, over to you.
Thank you, Haruna, for that wonderful word. Right, ladies and gentlemen, today we gather to address the pressuring issue of climate change and the pivotal roles that young professionals, industry leaders, and policymakers play in finding innovative solutions. Climate change is a reality we can no longer ignore, and it demands a collaborative effort. But before we start, let me first introduce myself. My name is Hari Govind. I am part of PES YP, US and Canada. I'm currently doing my graduate studies in electrical and computer science from University of Windsor, Canada, and I'm also the secretary for the university student branch. Young professionals bring fresh perspectives and unwavering commitment to sustainability, while industry leaders hold the resources and influence to drive sustainable practices. Policymakers create the regulatory frameworks necessary for a greener future. As we delve into today's discussion on the path forward, let's remember that we are here to explore solutions and opportunities for collaboration. Together, we have the power to make an everlasting impact on our planet. Today, we are here to delve into a crucial topic of accelerating climate solutions, innovations for a sustainable future. The urgency of climate change is undeniable, and it requires collective actions from all sectors of the society. Our goal is to explore the path forward, focusing on uh, collaborations among three key groups: young professionals, industry leaders, and policymakers. In this era of climate crisis, innovation and cooperation are not just desirable but essential. We aim to identify physical steps and strategies for advancing climate solution. By the end of this fireside chat, we hope to have a clearer roadmap for driving innovation, fostering collaboration, and making significant strides towards a more sustainable and resilient future for our planet. Today, we bring together a distinguished panel of experts to shed light on how young professionals, industry leaders, and policymakers can collaborate to drive meaningful change. Our aim is to move beyond theory and into practical solutions. We delve into examples of successful collaboration and strategies that can serve as blueprints for a sustainable future. And we hope to uncover the keys to ensuring that innovations translates into real, tangible process in the fight against climate change. So I encourage all of you, all the participants, to actively engage in this conversation. Your questions and insights are invaluable in shaping our understanding and ultimately our collective path forward. So let's get started and explore the possibilities of more sustainable tomorrow. So we welcome back our dear guest, that is Dr. Jessica Bain, John McDonald, and Dr. Mazana Armstrong. So we would like to share your thoughts and perspectives about the following questions before we get from the attendees. So my first question is, in a rapidly changing world, what do you see as the most pressing challenges in accelerating climate solutions? And how can our three stakeholders, that is policymakers, young professionals, and industry leaders, work together to address them? Anyone who would like to start?
Thank you, Harry Govind. So I think we've talked a bit about this in the previous hour as well, and then honestly, the first thing that comes to my mind is an organization like Power and Energy Society. That's what really we are here for, is to make those connections to I'll give you an example of what for example a chapter of Power and Energy Society can do, and we've done those industry focused workshops in the past where we do exactly that. We bring in the utilities, we bring manufacturers, we bring policymakers, regulators into the same room, and we do that at every conference pretty much. And that's where the conversation happens, that all of us can participate in and understand, what is really happening. And for me, it's always very, very interesting to understand what's happening in the US, because Canada being a separate country, we have different regulators, we have different practices. And when I go to a conference in the US, I see how things are happening differently, and I get inspired to say, hey, we can repeat this in Canada. We can also create a conference and bring the leaders of the utilities, and we've done that in the past with these workshops where we bring the CEOs of different companies and into a room where they can openly discuss the challenges that they're facing, and then collaborate with the regulator and have that open forum. So my, again, listening to your questions and how we can have these stakeholder groups come together, I say PES has a major role to play in this. So that would be my answer. Thank you.
Thank you, Mazana. And Jessica, your thoughts?
I can give you an example at PES. You can see Majana, John, we talk about the PES all the time, which is passionate about our association. So we have a program called Cooperative Engagement Program. We also have a technical group. It's called ITSLC, Industry Support Technical Leadership Committee. So that's, if you go to Google it, you'll find it on the PES website. So the main focus of those two programs is help the policymakers. Let's say storage or AI, right? What's the can we use that? Can we, speed up and deploy that within in our field, in our industry? So what PES has been doing is we go out and have a collaboration agreement with the policymakers across the globe, and particularly in US. And so we have quarterly meetings with them. Let's say they are debating a policy, or they want, for instance, a storage come into the wholesale market. Then personally, because I was involved, so we invited, when I was at FERC, Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, We invited a chair of our station battery and committee within PES, technical committees, and asked them, what are the technology available? What's the cost? And what are the challenges if we deploy them in the current planning, let's say non-wire alternative planning, and or just use a regular energy, right? How do we compete with the traditional and or ancillary service market, all that. So actually, the committee and with several experts came to our meeting and gave a talk to the policy, the makers, and particularly the economists, so they can look at the numbers, and then we also have engineers in commission building. So three together, it's a perfect marriage. I want to give you an example. We have policymakers, sometimes a lot of them politicians or lawyers, and then economists and engineers together, particularly engineers like worldwide technologists within PES. They will bring the technical solutions, and then our economists and lawyers say, okay, yeah, this is within our a legal framework. Right? Congress gave us that authority. We can use that technology. Or this is technology neutral, and economists will do the calculation, use a dollar sign, say, yeah, this is competitive with the traditional. So let's make a policy. So in 2018, this particular agency FERC issued an order. It's called 845. You can read it, and then like remove all the barriers and ask the wholesale market, mandate wholesale market to take the storage into the market. And in 2022, similar example, and this particular agency moved the barrier again and put a DER on the transmission side. It's open and fair competition with all the technologies as energy or ancillary service. Both DERs and storage now in the wholesale markets.
Thank you, Jessica. John, over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Harry Govind. You know, we have to get things done. You have to figure out what you need to do, and then you have to figure out the best way to get it done. And I think a couple key things. One would be a lot of times I get, you know, a young professional will say, John, you know, I'm not sure I should volunteer for this position. It's going to be a lot of work. And the feeling is that you have to do it all yourself. And I said, you know, accept the position, but then build a team of people to help you, right? You never have to do everything yourself unless you set it up that way. And so I think with these three stakeholder groups you mentioned, to get things done, use your network. And a good way to build your network is through IEEE PES. You meet people, you build your network. Reach out to your network and build teams of very key people with experience, with connections. And, you know, you'll get a lot of input on what to do. The consensus of that will be very rich in content. And then you'll be effective in getting things done because you'll have teams of people that are doers, teams of people that get things done, that have connections. I also say that we have to be interdisciplinary. The days of being a specialist are gone. You know, the world today is not siloed in one technical area. It's very, if you want to be very, very good at what you do and provide value to a company and customers, you have to be interdisciplinary. You have to reach out. You have to be constantly learning about related fields and new fields that are coming up. You also have to be able to see the big picture. You know, we teach at universities, we teach students to see the big picture. Don't just look at the substation and see the microprocessor-based device, but that device has two-way communications and could be a node in a bigger network. So always the big picture, the holistic solution has much more benefits to the customer than any individual component. So I think that's important. And research, we need research that has practical value. We need research that solves a real world problem. So I always counsel researchers, bring industry people on your research team from the very beginning, so that research decisions you make will end up with something that has value in the real world. Okay, we need a good mix of research and practicality. And then we've talked about this a lot, but to be effective and get things done, it can't just be technology by itself. Which engineer time on policy with policymakers, because we could have developed the best product in the world, but people won't buy it. There might be a policy issue. There might be a resistance to change issue, which is natural with people. And so you have to, in addition to technology, there's a lot of other factors involved for success. And we have to be able to understand those and be able to address those to be successful. Okay.
Thank you, John. Thank you for your insights. So we'll move on to the next question. Next question can think as if it is how we can do these actions do these theories into practice. That is, what are some examples of successful collaborations between young professionals, industry, and policymakers in the field of sustainability and climate action? John, would you like to start?
Me? Yeah, I think one example is one example, a real example is or two examples actually, but it's at Georgia Tech. You know, I'm in Atlanta at Georgia Tech, and what you find professors that are very have a lot of depth, obviously, and technical knowledge, but they're somewhat entrepreneurial, you know. And so Professor Deepak Devan here at Georgia Tech is always on the leading edge of developing technology, but technology with practical value. And I go down to his research area at Georgia Tech, and there's there's students and young professionals that are developing state-of-the-art equipment. And I have two examples where they've been commercialized and providing value with climate change. Okay, one is with it's commercialized by a company called Smart Wires, and you might have heard of it, but it's on the transmission system, and it can dynamically change the impedance of the transmission line to change the direction of power flow. So if you have a transmission area that is becoming congested, these devices on the transmission line can dynamically change the impedance and reroute the flow of electricity to avoid congestion. So this was developed at Georgia Tech by Professor Devan. By the way, Deepak was president of the IEEE Power Electronics Society at the same time I was president of the Power and Energy Society, around 2006 and 7. So that's more at the transmission level. The distribution level, I talked about freeing up hosting capacity so we could integrate more distributed generation onto the distribution system. He invented and developed the low voltage network dynamic grid edge controllers that we implement on a low voltage network where we have a high penetration of rooftop solar. Because the high penetration rooftop solar, when that sun starts shining, you have a spike in voltage on the distribution feeder and a wide oscillation. And that oscillation causes a lot of problems on distribution because it's with voltage and reactive power. And the tap changer in the substation is going from operating maybe 5 or 10 times per day to 150 times per day. And a tap changer is a mechanical controller, and its lifetime in San Diego Gas and Electric in one feeder, the lifetime went from 35 years to less than 2 years because it was operating so much more frequently. So these low voltage network dynamic grid edge controllers were developed at Georgia Tech by Deepak and his young professionals, his students and young professionals. and they're commercialized by a company called Verentech in Silicon Valley, and implemented in many places in the U.S. and Mexico. Okay, and they've done the islands of Hawaii. Their utilities had a target of 40% of their generation had to be renewable by a certain year, and their distribution systems were full of reactive power, very low power factor. And these low voltage network dynamic grid edge controllers were implemented on the islands of Hawaii with the different electric systems and freed up a tremendous amount of hosting capacity, which allowed these utilities to integrate a lot more distributed generation, have a better chance of reaching their target of 40%. So those are two real examples of students and young professionals working with a professor who's very entrepreneurial also.
Yeah, I like to add a couple more. So this year, so PES at the board level, the leadership level, we added 2 young professionals to our board. One is student young professional representative. You all know him very well. We also added member large climate change. So this is where we want to see your voice be represented at the board level, at the highest leadership level, and that helped us a lot. That's why we have this workforce initiative, and Arnon has been a driving force for the virtual job fairs, mentorship, and Mercy, who is our member large climate change. She has been working with all young professionals. We have climate change task force. She has been representing PES within IEEE and in many technical committees and leadership roles. So those are 2 examples that how you can help us help the whole. I mean, to drive the sustainability, right? So your voice will be represented, so we can use the resources that we have, and towards the common goal.
Thank you, Jessica. Mazana, your thoughts?
Yes. So I'd like to build a story a little bit on top of what John McDonald was already describing. And so going back to the definition of a young professional. So this is someone who has graduated within with their first degree within the last something like 15 years, and typically, those are individuals below 35 years of age. And so all of our graduate students are really young professionals. And for those who may be listening to this broadcast and are not members of PES, I thought it was valuable to say this. So how do young professionals help? I also have a really great example, and this is from the University of British Columbia here in Canada. Again, we are talking about the research work that they're doing in universities, and usually universities are the ones responding to, the government sponsored projects, and the governments are always looking at what are the hot topics at the moment, what is happening, where do we need help from academia. And in this specific case, a lot of investments are being made into fighting wildfires. As all of you know, wildfires can be started by the transmission and distribution systems as well, but they also impact, even if they're caused by another like lightning or something else, or usually human initiated. Those wildfires, once they spread, they definitely can cause outages. They can damage infrastructure. They can basically impact our ability to reliably deliver power. And I became aware of the great research that universities in British Columbia are doing on that aspect of how to model a propagation of a wildfire, how to use technology such as drones to monitor its progress, and kind of create an algorithm how you can predict, and maybe protect your infrastructure that is in the way of the fire. And so just a fantastic way of responding to what today's needs are, and quickly reacting and developing new technologies to help utilities guard the system against these consequences of climate change. And as you all know, I think Canada was in the news too many times this summer for huge wildfires, both on the West Coast and the East Coast. And I remember the picture of New York being covered with smoke coming from Canada. It is a real problem. It's not going away. Next year, it may be even worse. We've seen things in the past few years that, we did not see maybe, in the 100 years before. I have never heard the term atmospheric river until about 2 years ago, right? When the rain and so these extremes, weather extremes are coming our way, and we need the ingenuity of young professionals to help solve this problem. There was a question earlier on the slide that says that innovation is not just a buzzword. And I say, necessity is the mother of invention or innovation, and the necessity is here. So it's not a buzzword. I assure you, it's not a buzzword. It's very much needed. We need, researchers. We need young professionals to join. Again, even the government offices. I think that's what Jessica said earlier. That the Department of Energy is hiring people. So the governments are looking for the future policymakers. The utilities are looking for engineers. Future leaders, manufacturers are looking for the same. So it all comes back to people, right? Like I think whatever discussion we start here about technology, it always goes back to we need people, we need innovation, we need you younger generations, and to come up with these solutions. And I was also impressed. I was one of the judges at the general meeting for the poster session, and I really took keen interest in some of these new topics that are being developed at universities. A great place to learn what's happening across our industry, what different universities are taking on as research subjects, and it's always in responding to the necessities and the needs of today. So that was really fantastic opportunity for me to also see how our young professionals are involved in innovation and finding new solutions. Thank you.
Well said. Mitigating wildfires in Canada is a need of the hour. That's very true. Moving on, we got a question from one of the participant. What should individuals consider when transitioning into sustainable energy sector from other industries? Anyone would like to start with that? My question is, what should individuals consider when transitioning into sustainable energy sector from other industries?
I can jump on that, because that's what we are seeing. Actually, that again, we need the workforce, and we are seeing more people with varied background interested, in very engineering backgrounds and different industries interested to join the power and energy sector, because it is a very exciting place to be today. And what I'm noticing is that young people have that really strong sense of, I really want to work for a company that is making a difference, right? In the world, that's helping society, that's helping solve all of these problems. And so the companies have to be better prepared to receive people with various backgrounds, and the training becomes so important. And that training will likely happen on the job. So what I'm seeing is we are getting people from the oil industry, right, into the electric utilities, and providing them with the right training on electric power systems, because they may not necessarily have that background. And then again, going back to PES University, going back to all the resources that exist, and that can be shared with the companies. The other day I was talking to my director, and some of the people of my team deal with very important substation equipment, including transformers. And I was mentioning to him how valuable resources that are online. So, hey, you bring in this person who is young and who hasn't had a lot of interaction with the world of transformers, power transformers, and let's be honest, even universities don't teach the topic in the great detail. And so how do we train them? And having that library of online courses where you can just direct them and say, IEEE PES has all these resources, and you just have to kind of sit down, go through the training, go through some, it's invaluable to have your mentors, like people who have the experience to work with you. But also, in addition to that, all these online courses that are available, papers and anything else that's available through the like IEEE Explore. And our resource center will really, really help bring those people up to speed, and make them contribute faster, I guess, to their roles within the companies. So that would be my example. Thank you.
Thank you, Zana. John, would
Yeah,
you like to?
I can add a couple of considerations. One would be the personality, right? And also the talent. If I'm a good writer, maybe I could be a lawyer. I mean, with my engineering degree, so I could be a policymaker, right? And with a stroke of pen, you can do a lot of good things for the society, speed up the energy transition. And that's one thing. Another thing is I would talk to my mentors and also see what's out there, and consider, is this something I can do? If I cannot decide, should I go industry? Should I go to graduate school, be a professor, and all that? I mean, try in different areas, right? Try to be a graduate student, or try to be a research scientist, or be an engineer. Couple of years and see which one you like the most. It's there's no like one silver bullet. Everyone is different, but I mean, how do you find a way to kind of save the planet, right? And help this find a solution for sustainability. There are a lot of ways you could do it, but I think that on the way we wanted to fulfill, right, our passion, our dream. And like I said, another thing, you can just join PES. You have John and Marjana, everyone, and can help you, and plus all the young professional peers together. And those are the factors. I think they all would make a difference from personal, individual personality point of view, community like PES, or the YP community, and plus what's out there, what's like Marjana said, there's a necessity, right? What's the necessity? All these factors could come into play, how you can find a solution for sustainability.
Thank you, Jessica. John, you're on mute.
So, if this was me, I would say it's one thing to have an interest, but until you get into it and learn some about it, talk to people, it may not be something you're truly interested in, or it may be something you're very interested in. So you really need to jump in as much as you can and experience it, right? So Marjana mentioned online, there's a tremendous amount of online material available, and you want to take advantage of that. I've done online stuff for IEEE PES, IEEE Smart Grid, and IEEE educational activities. Those three that are all available, many of those at no cost. So take advantage of that. I remember being a panelist in a young professionals panel session at the IEEE PES general meeting. And the first question of us was asked by a young woman in the front row who was a chemical engineer who just joined National Grid with a chemical engineering background. Okay. And at GE, we hired a young woman who was a chemical engineer into a 2-year rotational program in GE Grid Solutions. It's not unusual today to find, so what if you majored in chemical engineering? You can get into the electric grid, you can get into climate change, But I would say to jump in, I would do a couple things. One would be there's 17 technical committees in the IEEE PES, okay? And I jumped in 1987, the substations committee, one of the 17, because I wanted to learn and I wanted to lead the standards work in the field of substation automation from the beginning. And and then volunteer for increasing leadership positions, became a working group chair, a subcommittee chair, and then chair of the entire committee in 2001 and 2. So, jump in, and a good way to experience is get involved in writing the standards about it, because you're with industry experts from all over the world and you're learning from each other. Second thing would be, to really get in and attend as many PES events as you can. And that could be locally, like for me, the Atlanta chapter right here. It could be regionally, or it could be globally, right? But do as much of that as you can and see what sessions, whether it's a super session, a panel session, a paper session on climate change. The other thing is I would look all through the PES website and look at all the activities going on related to climate change. Climate change is a big topic, and there's a lot of subsets to it. Question is, what subset or subsets would you have a passion for? And what can help determine that is these resources, and particularly the PES website. And then the last thing I would do, and this happens to me and probably Jessica and Majan a lot too, is on LinkedIn. You're only going to have one or maybe two mentors. You can have one or two mentors, and you may have 20 champions who champion you, but it's very different than a mentor. A mentor is a very, very special relationship. And I would say most people have one, maybe you'll have two, but if you take advantage of a mentoring relationship properly, you don't have 5 or 10 mentors, but you have a lot of champions that help you get ahead. Use LinkedIn and constantly look at LinkedIn on people that are giving climate change talks, people that are talking about climate change. Reach out to them on LinkedIn through LinkedIn messaging, texting, okay? And say, hey, I'd like to schedule a web meeting with you to learn more about what you're doing, okay? And have the courage. Don't be afraid to reach out to folks that you've never met before, but they've posted something that you're very interested in and you'd like to learn more about. Don't be afraid to do that, okay? Expand your network in this area, learn more about it very quickly from others, and it'll help you determine first of all, if you're interested in it at all, and second, what parts of it you're most interested in. And then these people you meet with your mentor and the people you meet on LinkedIn can help you maybe with a new job opportunity, or in PES, new leadership opportunities in the areas you're passionate about. And then you can get more involved as you learn more and as you want to accept greater responsibility. Okay? I think those are the steps I would take.
Thank you so much, John. We have a follow-up question for the Jessica statement on energy sector hiring. How do employers in the sustainable energy sector evaluate candidates, and what qualities do they seek when hiring? Jessica, would you like to answer that?
Yeah, well, that's a good question. So the way, I mean, if I think I'm the the supervisor, right, who has an opening, or what kind of person. I would say, okay, how many, what's kind of a needs, necessity that I need, what kind of project I have. So that's what I'm looking for on the talents in that area, because it's always like I need to deliver, right? So sometimes I mean, company will say, okay, maybe we want to hire a just recent graduates with that degree. And we need that in every area. But most of the time, if I'm looking for specialists, that because I have a project, I have something, either data scientist or let's say a transmission planner, right? And because those are the things I need to, I know my group or my department need kind of that talent. So in terms of recent graduates, it would be could be more broader, because they come in, they could do the rotation to different departments. Eventually they can and do a lot of other things. In terms of sustainability, yeah, like John said, right now it's like we high. I know the like New York ISO, ComEd, the utility company in New York, they hire a lot of environmental science graduates, because they can help design the market, better market, so they can look at emission. They can work with EPA, see what the standards EPA mandates are. So then when they design their market and the energy market, wholesale energy market, they can look into that and provide some price signal incentive, so that the market participants will know what needs to be done, what kind of incentive. So so there are a lot of needs and multidiscipline talents that the industry needs right now. I hope that helps.
Thank you, Jessica. Other panelists, Mazana and John, would you like to add something?
I would say a couple things. Before with an interview, before I get into the technical experience and stuff, I would say a couple things very important. One is you look for humility in the person. Okay, you want people who are very confident about themselves. Um, they're very good at what they do, but they're very secure. They don't tell you how great they are. They show you how great they are through the work that they do. Okay, and if you want to hire a good team player, you don't want someone who has a big ego. You don't want someone who wants to be the superstar all the time. You want somebody who supports other people, who praises other people, and who does a good job in a team. Because everything we do today, very little is individual. It's usually done on a team basis. And you need a good, you could have a great team and you add one bad apple to it and it destroys the whole team. So I think that's important first. Second thing is, what's very important is interdisciplinary background. Okay, as I said before, I would look for somebody who's had experience doing a number of different things, and they've been exposed not in one area for a long time, but different areas, and are more interdisciplinary. And if it's like a new graduate, I think what's important is when you're in school, you want to get as many internships as you can, right? You want to have as much real work experience as you can. And hopefully doing different things, right? Like I said, interdisciplinary, doing different things. So that's what I would look for, is how much work experience did they have in different fields, and how is that related to climate change? How is that related to the things I'm looking for in the position I'm hiring for? So you want to have as much work experience. Did they do papers? Did they present? Research in the area? What's been their involvement in that area as they were a student, and maybe just after graduation?
Thank you, John. Mazana?
Yes. So when I am looking at the candidates to hire into my team, I'm looking for potential, because I know it's very rare that you will find somebody in the market who is just ready to come to your team, and they will start producing the next day. So you are, with every new hire, you are making an investment. You are, they have to be trained, and so that's the point where you're trying to really assess how interested they really are in the position. And the way you show how interested you are during the interview is to ask questions. I always say interview is a dialogue, it's a discussion. It's not only for the company to assess your suitability for their posting, it's also opportunity for you to understand if that job is really what you want out of your career. So asking those questions, preparing really good questions for your potentially future employers will allow you to find out if that position is really suitable for you. But you will also get a better gauge if the hiring manager is really somebody you want to work for, if they're going to be supporting you. You can ask questions about continuing education, about do they support their employees to get involved with standards development, right? Like that's extremely important in the utility industry. And John mentioned it many times through this discussion as well. So try to find out how much the company is willing to invest in you, and you will get that good idea if that's the place for you to be, and also where you want to be 5 or 10 years from now. Another thing I would like everyone to consider is leadership positions within the companies. I always recommend to young people to do their years of building their technical experience, but also to consider at some point moving in leadership roles. We do need those role models down the line, people to inspire younger people to join in, to build strong teams and all of that. So ask about the potential to develop your soft skills, your leadership skills, and also remember that PES does provide those opportunities to all the volunteers free of charge to practice your leadership skills that are so much transferable to your daily work. So remember that, like everything you do for PES as a volunteer, as an engaged member, it will help you in your career later on. So those are some of the pointers I have. And I will also tell you that when I'm looking through resumes, if somebody has a volunteering experience with IEEE and PES, I will definitely give extra points to those people. So remember that. I'm sure it's true for John and Jessica as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mazana. It is interesting to hear that hiring managers are now giving more importance to EQ than IQ these days. So before we conclude, we have one more question. I frame that question, and I'm shooting out to you. Recent occurrences such as devastating wildfires in Canada underscore the urgent need of community-based solutions and rapid response mechanisms. So, giving this backdrop, how can IEEE EPICS, like engineering projects in community service, IEEE SITE, Special Interest Group for Humanitarian Technology, HAC Humanitarian Activity Committee, and MOO effectively collaborate to address challenges like these and others in the community across US and Canada? And how can PES be involved in it?
Maybe it's appropriate for me to start because these are all programs that are actively supported by the IEEE Foundation, right? And this is my third year on the board of the IEEE Foundation. These are all programs that are active with us in the 50th anniversary of the IEEE Foundation, which is an 18-month program. So we're constantly, truthfully, The IEEE Foundation supports these programs you mentioned, Harrigan, but we're always looking for volunteers to do a couple things. We say time, talent, and treasure. Time, talent, and treasure. We're looking for young people. We're looking for volunteers to donate your time to help with a program you have passion about. Okay, time, talent, your experience. You don't have to be a 30-year experienced person. Whatever experience you have can help any of these programs. Okay, and time, talent, treasure. When you get to the point where you may have some funds available to donate, because all of these programs live by donated funds. You know, the more funds they have, the more they can do, the more value they can provide, right? So, but you don't have to, if you don't have the funds, donate your time, donate your talent, okay, to do that. And truthfully, if anyone is interested in a particular program, they can contact me and I can get them plugged in to the right program. We have at Sections Congress, just recently, the IEEE Foundation Pavilion, which was a center point of the exhibition area. We had many people come to us to get more information about a program, especially the programs you mentioned. Okay, how can I get involved? What do I need to do? Who do I contact? And each of these programs had separate exhibits themselves to answer questions and to educate people on the program. So let me just say that every one of us has benefited in some way. I guarantee it, from some programs in IEEE. For me, it's the Power and Energy Society and HKN, Eta Kappa Nu. And so I said, I want to give back. I want to give back to these programs that did so much to help me. Whatever success I've had in my career is due to others helping me. You should always be thinking about how can you give back to those programs. Okay, give back. Doesn't have to be money. It can be your time, talent, and when you're able, your treasure. But pick a program, pick 2 programs that you're really passionate about, and get involved in some way. For me, it's the Power and Energy Society Scholarship Program. From the very beginning, I was evaluating applications in Region 3, where I live. And then when I was term limited for that, my wife and I contribute a lot of money to the scholarship program, and I get other people to donate to it. The other one is Eta Kappa Nu, HKN, the Honor Society. I helped put together the chapter support program. My wife and I helped fund that so it could be kicked off a year and a half ago. We started a mentoring program with Eta Kappa Nu just recently. So get in, I can't say enough. Get it. It feels so good to give back and be a reason why these programs are more successful with your help. There's no better feeling than to contribute to the success. And these programs are doing good work in climate, many of these in climate change all over the world. There's no experience level. These are IEEE is a volunteer organization. The only limit for you is the limit you put on yourself by not volunteering. Have the courage, have the motivation, and choose something you're passionate about and volunteer. Get involved. Remember, time, talent, or treasure. Every program would love to have your help. All right.
Yeah,
Thank you, John.
I can add what PS has been doing. And last year, I mentioned ITSLC, that committee is Industry Technical Support Leadership Committee. They actually issued a report on climate change. Well, actually, year before, 2020, they issued a report on resiliency. Because if you think about the extreme weather, right? Because grid it's not resilient enough yet. But if you look at all the technical papers and policies and know there's no agreement on what resiliency look like. There's no a unique definition that everybody has agreed on across the globe. So PES actually came up with a framework on how they define. They did the research and look at USA, um, the other parts of the world, how they define resiliency, and then says, okay, this is how we define it based on everybody else. And then also we have I mentioned earlier, we have a working group. They're working on resiliency standards, which is that 12-hour thing. So there are a lot of things going on that on the PS and IEEE, and you heard that Cypher is doing the climate change earlier from his letter. So yeah, all cylinders are running in parallel and try to speed up and combat climate change.
Thank you, Jessica. Mazana, your thoughts?
Yes, so I would just like to add that local involvement through local chapters is so invaluable. That's where all of our membership sits, right, in the chapters across the world, whether they're professional chapters or student chapters, and promoting and encouraging involvement in these initiatives, PS initiatives through chapters is the way to go. We are learning that younger generations are passionate about humanitarian initiatives. They're passionate about climate change. They're passionate about changing the world, and so PES is responding obviously to the current challenges by forming different committees, different initiatives to respond, but really those need to be communicated through the chapters to attract new people to our society to join us, to say, hey, we are doing this very important work, come join us. You can make a difference. There is a place for you, there's a role for you to play. And so that is something that we need to look into. I recently presented at the New Zealand chapter event, and I was thinking, as a distinguished lecturer, we should have the slides to represent our society, but some of that should also talk about these initiatives that PES is running, and they're important to the changing world today. So maybe something that Jessica can communicate back to the governing board to equip our speakers, equip our chapter chairs with the information that they can share with their local membership or during the presentations to talk more about the initiatives and how they can get involved. Because I do believe the passion is out there. We just have to find the people and attract them and make them valuable members of our society. So that's, for me, it's a call for action. I think we can do even more. And that will help us involve even more young professionals into our society.
Thank you so much, panelists. The youthful spirit embodies a unique blend of passion, energy, and drive to foster change. We stand poised, eager to invest our time and creativity towards tangible solutions for our planet's pressing issues. Platforms like IEEE offer us a conduit to channel this enthusiasm, providing us structural avenues to craft a sustainable world alongside experienced guides for various sectors. To the young professionals among us, I urge you to harness opportunities through entities like IEEE PES, and by joining hands with seasoned experts and leaders, so that we can bridge the chasm between challenges and solutions and steer our world towards resilience and sustainability. Together, we are the vanguard of change. And remember, where there is a challenge, there is an opportunity. Over to you, Haruna. Thank you. Thank you so much. And this is the end of Fireside Chat. Thank you. Over to you.
Harry, thank you very much. I can't say enough. Thank you, and thank you to all the panelists. This is not the closing remark, but as a young professional and as the head of the PES YP for US and Canada, um, I have had to, draw out of my inner strength to try and encourage young professionals to contribute, to come back to the drawing board and see what we can do. Because if seasoned, like just like Harry said, if seasoned professionals like this are still contributing, are still pushing forward, then what is the problem? Why can't we do that as well? If we can come in on the board and contribute the same way all of you are doing, I'm sure we can make the world a much more better place. Like they say, I mean, if we have two or three more people, we can do better. We need to move the needle, like Jessica said earlier on. And to do that, we need the young professionals. You all have done your best. It is left for us to come in, learn, get seasoned like all of you. So I think this is like Amaza said, this is a shout out to all the young professionals to come out, give our best, find out how we can contribute. John gave us examples of what you don't be shy. Go on LinkedIn, ask questions, get involved, engage that way. And the most intriguing thing is young professionals, we like technology. We like, I mean, nobody loves technology like we do. So if you like technology, you should be able to improve it or contribute to it. Because if we don't, once the people that are doing it right now go, who will sustain it? So we need to be able to contribute, come in, learn, get seasoned also, and make it better if possible. At least sustain it. But the way it is, if we are not getting involved, we wouldn't be able to sustain it. But thank God for people like Vish, Harigovid, and my team. Most of them are not here right now. They are a lot of engagement. Mercy, Augusto, Nazni, that are very dedicated. So, yes, a few, but we will try to keep on pushing and see what we can do. Not to keep everybody here, but I have two questions that I'll make into one before we round up. Let me put it up. Now, I'm asking this because for me, I'm an international student as well, and I believe we have climate change and sustainability and green energy. We have different challenges in different places. So coming from a different place coming from a different continent to another continent, I believe there are different opportunities, different challenges. So if you have an international experience and a global perspective of professionals in the sustainable energy, what are the specific regions or countries that offer better career opportunities when it comes to climate change, when it comes to sustainability, green energy, and all of that? And what would be the advice to somebody starting a career in this sustainable energy sector to maximize long-term sectors, not just short-term? I mean, if you're an international person going to a different place, and what will be the advice you will give? Oh, you're coming in from Asia to Africa, from Africa to the Americas. What advice will you give somebody transitioning from those places? And what are the long-term advice you give? I mean, this is two coming into one. I don't know. I think Manzana transitioned a long time ago, but I don't know if if it relates. But I'm sure John has traveled all over the world, so he can also talk, and as well as Jessica. Thank you.
Yeah. So I can quickly jump in to say I transitioned again from Europe to Canada over 20 years ago, and I still believe some of the steps that you are taking today are the similar steps that I took, was to come to, let's say, Canada or the US as a student. It does open up the doors a little bit more, because you will have a degree from a recognized North American university, which does open up the door into the local industry easier. So but speaking about some of the challenges I mentioned earlier, that the workforce is shrinking, and we need to make it easier for people from Africa, people from India, from all over the world to come to Canada or the US as professionals already. So not necessarily as students, but as professionals. So there's still some barriers, I believe, if you don't have a degree from a North American university. However, those barriers are not something that is impossible to overcome. I know, for example, my company, BC Hydro, on some occasions where we are looking for special talent that we cannot find in Canada, that has to come from overseas, we will sponsor people to come to Canada and begin their career with us. That may be the true the path that other companies are also taking these days, and I do believe it will be more so in the future. Again, as the local talent is pool of talent is shrinking, as people are retiring, we will need to expand our horizons and make it easier for international people to come in. So my advice would be, prepare yourself. Learn as much as you can about the culture of the country that you're coming into. The challenges are here, the jobs are here, and I would say that Canada is a great place to work. Otherwise, I wouldn't I wouldn't be here for so many years. And I'm sure Jessica and then John will say something similar to the US. So I would say, I would invite you to consider Canada as a place to work, and not all parts of Canada are cold. Where I live, the climate is very, moderate. We don't have really cold winters and so on. So, anyways, that's kind of all I had to say on the topic. That I feel a lot of development is being made in Canada and the US. I know in the US there's a lot of investment in sustainability, in fighting climate change, and all of that, which means jobs, right? So I'll let the other two speakers weigh in on this as well. Thank you.
Go ahead, John.
I would say international experience is a must, and it's easy to get experience in your own country. What you want to do is get as much experience in other countries as possible. For instance, I specifically took an assignment in Northern Canada, Marjana, starting January 2nd in Northern Alberta near the Yukon. And for 3 months, I lived 20 miles from the nearest town, and I helped build the Syncrude oil tar sands project in 1978. Okay. Living in a trailer 20 miles from the nearest town, working 10 hours a day outdoors as a startup engineer, managing 10 rages. It was 50 below zero. And I did that for Switzerland. I've worked in Scotland. So one thing, I realized early on in my career, international experience was a must. I need to do this as often as I can. Well, I became a distinguished lecturer for the Power and Energy Society 25 years ago. All right. And I do like 10, 15 a year all over the world. And what you find is you can develop a product in your country and it can have a tremendous business case. People are buying it. You take that same product to another country and nobody wants to buy it. There's no interest in it. And I find many young engineers thinking, if I develop something in my own country and everybody loves it, it's going to be the same way all over the world. And that's not the case. You have to really understand the differences in standards, policy, culture. There's a lot of differences as you move around the world. And if you want to be a good engineer, you have to know what those are. And it's not, you can't just read about them. You want to go to those countries, live, work in those countries, immerse yourself in those countries, and experience it for yourself. And that's what I've done. I have 4.5 million miles on Delta Airlines, just on Delta, from all the traveling. And you learn on every trip. You meet new people on every trip. I've worked for 6 companies in 49 years. 5 of the 6 job changes were through my network, through friends in my network. All right. How did I meet those people? Through IEEE PES, through traveling and working all over the world. That's how you, and the other thing is culture. If I'm in Asia and I'm exchanging business cards, you don't just do it like we do in the US and Canada, where you take a business card out of your pocket and hand it to somebody. It's more of a formal process. As we know, when you exchange business cards in Asia, you put your computer bag down, you take your business card with both hands, and you formally present it right to the other person. And that's what they would do to you. So you need to understand cultures and respect those cultures. Otherwise, you won't be successful, because you'll be looked at as an outsider, right? If you want to be accepted by people, successfully engage with people, learn from people, you've got to respect those cultures and practice those cultures. So international experience is a must. And the earlier you can start, look for opportunities to travel, look for opportunities to work in different countries, and take advantage of it over and over again. But don't take the easy way out. I've always looked for the most difficult situations I could find, and I accept those to test my resiliency. I've done some things in my career that nobody else would do. Working outdoors in very, very cold weather, 10 hours a day for 7 days a week for 3 months. Many people wouldn't do that. Living 20 miles from the nearest town. No, that was good for me. It was a good test for me, and it made me stronger, made me more resilient. So don't take the easy road. Always look for the hardest challenge you can find, and you're better for it at the end as you can.
Quickly, that wherever you are, join your local chapter activity, IEEE section, right, student branch, or professional PS chapters. All those will help you to build the connections, besides what John says, travel and all that. But if you cannot travel, join the local chapters. That would help you to grow as well. And you'll meet lots of folks from industry and mentors, and you can help the chapter and volunteer there as well, so that people get to know you, and they will, if they have openings, they will approach you if they see the potential, like Majana says. Yeah, if they see your potential, the employer see your potential, they will approach you. Great question.
Thank you very, very much. Once again, like I would say, by the way, Mazon, I love Canada. I was in Ottawa for the Section Congress, and I was like, wow. From Ottawa, John was there too. I had a great time in Canada. So yes, I will tell people, I will recommend to people to come to Canada. United States is awesome, but Canada is lovely as well. I loved my stay in Canada, and honestly speaking, I'm still gonna come back to Canada because I had an awesome time when I was there. I went to the Niagara Falls as well, and I believe, like you said, Canada has abundance of opportunities to offer to young professionals. So Canada is a very good place. And like always, I said it before and I'll say it again. What the elders have seen and have said we can only learn from you people. John, I mean, what John has said about cultures, there's no way we could have learned about that. I mean, engage yourself, learn, keep learn the culture. Take the hardest part. It will form you. It will make you a better person, because then whatever comes next will not phase you out, because you've been through the tough part already. So taking the easy way out is like being a coward. And one of the mottos, one of the institutions I follow a lot is the military. The military always take the toughest test, because they don't know what they will encounter. Engineers were the same. Uh, if we are not there, I don't think the military will have what they have today. So we are always at the forefront of innovation. If we're not trying out new things, testing ourselves, pushing the limits. If we're not pushing the limit, that means there won't be innovations. And the young professionals, we should be leading this charge. If we're not leading this charge, who should be leading the charge? So we should keep pushing the limit, testing ourselves beyond reasonable doubt, and then we will do better. And there's no better place to do it than at IEEE. Jessica said, volunteer at your local level if you can travel. Networking is one of the best things that can ever happen to anybody in this life. What your IQ, EQ, whatever cannot do for you, network will do for you. IEEE is the best networking place, the biggest professional body in the whole world. So, and the big innovation, when it comes to innovation, what is it? The standards is IEEE. Young professionals, we need to sit up, we need to take this charge, we need to move forward. I wouldn't want this session to end, and I think we will do this again. I love this panelists, and I will invite all of you again, but just not to take it's Saturday, take most of the day. I will invite the IEEE PES President, Chair International, Albin Paul, to give us a closing remark. You're mute.
Mute.
Okay, so am I audible? I think I'm audible now, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Yes. So thank you very much for this opportunity. So I was listening your conversation for I think more than 2.5 hours. So there is a great discussion. We were discuss a lot about the opportunities in IEEE for the especially for the young professionals, and how the young professional can contribute to the climate change, and how these activities going around in the IEEE and especially in the power and energy society. So uh, yeah, so I would like to share some few details about the how the PES YP committee we were uh, organizing events, or how we contribute to this common goal. So it will be helpful for the people who were joining from Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. So, and first of all, I would like to congratulate Haruna and his team for hosting this event in a great way. So we had a great discussion, and when I check the comments in social media, so they will get a lot of benefit through these interactions. So I don't want to share more about the IEEEs and IEEE PES, because in this talk we were learned much details about this. So we had for the power and energy society and professional, we had a great team with the diverse subcommittees, like we have for the educational professional development, technical activity coordination, and academics initiative support, and the membership and conference, and also to support the young professionals from the various part of the world, we have the 4 regional representatives who were connecting all the young professional members. Haruna, he is representing the USA and Canada. We have the other from EMEA, Asia Pacific and Latin American region. And to ensure the connection with the humanitarian team, the Women in Power PES Day, and for the student team we have some license role, and also we have actively active in the social media and web page. So we have the webmaster, and for the newsletter coordinator, so we have one technical newsletter, and also the PES YP regional summit that we are organized or initiated this event as part of our annual virtual summit, IEEE Powering the Future Summit, which we are planning to host in the November. So the 3rd edition will be on this November, and as a pre-event of the summit, we are hosting this regional summit. So the first regional summit in this year we are hosted today, and on the next Friday and Saturday we have the virtual regional summit for Europe, Middle East and Africa region. So the regional team hosting this event, and in the next week, the upcoming then later Friday, Saturday and Sunday we have for the Asia Pacific region, and at last for the Latin America region. So all these events are focusing on the theme that accelerating climate solution, innovations for sustainable future. So I encourage that everyone who is attending this event from through our social media channel, so you can check it these details in our from our social media pages. So like Haruna and he mentioned earlier, so the young professional are those who are from the after their first graduating degree to up to the 15 years. So we create a vibrant community for the early career professions in the power and energy sector, and we aim to promote the innovations and mentorship in our team. So in last year, we received the honorable mention in the IEEE YP Hall of Fame Award for our 2021 activities. And so last year, we had a lot of opportunities for the professional chapters. We introduced the ignition funding opportunity, which helped the young professionals in the chapter to meet and organize the event. So it will be a great opportunity for those who were interested to host some physical or the hybrid event in your professional chapter. And we have the summits, and also we have some monthly talk show like the Women in Power FM, and we have the newsletter. So, and we are also be there in the global conferences like the Rising Star Conference, PESGM, and in total, in 2022, we hosted the 22 events. So one of the major event in this is the She for Hair mentoring program, which is hosted by Preeti. She's the last Woman in Power license of PES YP. Then in this year so far, we hosted the 22 events. So also to promote the volunteering in the young professionals, we introduced the PES YP Outstanding Volunteer of the Month volunteer recognition program. So as part of these things, we are appreciating the effort that made by the PES YP to fulfill the PES objectives. And also we have the Enlighten monthly webinar series with the industry experts. So this event we are hosting in association with the PES Kerala professional chapters. So as a professional chapter, if you are interested to host an event in association with the PES YP, you can reach to our regional representatives, or you can directly contact us through our social media pages. So we are organizing the skill development and skill enrichment training program. So in this year, we hosted the 1 week, means the 7 section ETAB software training. and also we organize another software training on Homer and other software. In this year, we introduced the virtual university lab visit program. So as we all know that the graduate student members who are also be part of the young professional. So as part of the virtual university lab visit program, we are introducing the various universities and the lab across the world. So you can get interact with the PhD scholars or the faculties from their university. So, so far we conducted the 2 episodes of this program. One is with the National Institute of Technology in Calicut, and the other one is the Cardiff University School of Engineering at UK. So the next episode of the event will be, we are planning to host in the October 9. So it is with the BUT, Budapest University of Technology and Economics in Hungary. So we are, those who are interested with the initiative, you can check our page. And if you are a faculty and you are a PES volunteer, so I encourage you to contact us, and we can have a virtual university lab visit with your university. So it helped the university to share your the opportunities or the program which is going in for the master students or PhD scholars in your university. So I encourage the PES volunteers who are working with the university to get connected with us. And we have the another the web, webinars with the international scholarship recipients, and also we introduced the article publication support community. So it's a WhatsApp group which help the young professional to publish their paper in IEEE conferences. So in this group, we have a group of dedicated YP volunteers who they will share the more details about the upcoming conferences or some guide on article publications. And we organized the grid game. It's one of the event that we were conducted with the IEEE Paulo section. So I don't know how to pronounce their exact name. So that's one of the event that we organized with the AP PS chapter in US. So likewise, if you uh, wish to get connected with us to host events, so we are always happy to have more collaboration. And we introduced the PES YP Forming Future Leaders Initiative. So it's a campaign to know the expectation of a PES volunteers from the PES YP committee. So as part of that, we have 2 surveys is currently we circulating it with the PES YP members. So one is the perception survey, so to know the expectation from PES YP, and the other one is an industry connect survey. So you will receive the this information soon from the PES professional chapter chair. So we are sending the e-notice soon, and it's also available in our social media pages. So in total, we organized the 22 events. So I would like to share these things because we had a vibrant community, and we are with the from the entrepreneurs to the young graduates. So I welcome the young professional to be part of PES YP, and those who are not part of PES and you are IEEE members, so you can grab this opportunity to be part of PES also. Then in all these section we are share more about the benefit of PES, so I don't want to share this again. So in PES YP, we have, these are just QR code. You can just screenshot this. So we have the PES YP community. It's a WhatsApp group with all our members and committee members. So we were discussing the updates from the PES YP. And if you have any doubt from your academics, you can just write it down in the group. So anyone from the group will support you. And to represent, so we wish to include you in our team. So we have the call for PES chapter representatives that you can represent your chapter in our PES YP global team. And the other one is that I mentioned earlier, PES YP, the survey, the PES YP forming the future leaders. So yeah, that's all about the quick updates from the PES. And if you are not a PES YP member, so you can just scan this QR code to know more about the membership and more information. And thank you very much, Haruna, for this opportunity. And it's great. Thank you. Bye. Over to you.
Okay. Thank you, Albin, once more. Thank you, Mr. John. Thank you, Dr. Jessica, Dr. Mazana. It was a great opportunity, and like Albin said, we still have the future summits coming up later in the year. We're going to prepare that. We're going to prepare for that, and we hope to have you all on board again and give us more insight and help urge the young professionals. On that note, I think we'll end it here, and I'm going to share our social media handles where other people can connect with us on LinkedIn and on Facebook before we actually sign out. But before we sign out, thank you all once more. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, sir, and thank you, Maz.
Thank you very much, Matuna and Jessica and Anna. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a